This ideology was very important due to political factors during the Cold War. During the Cold War, if I talk about my region, the Arab Middle East, during that Cold War, you actually you can see countries allying with the Soviet Unions and countries allying with the United States, and some regimes that were facing opposition from movements that were leftist in nature. So the mean to face these ideology was Islamism. From the perspective of these regimes, including the United States, which worked together with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, from their perspective, we were facing an ideological communist threat, leftist threat. Within the Arab context, it was a pan-Arab leftist threat, and we're using a religion from their perspective. But what they had was a political ideology, and they didn't take, for instance, Sufism. That's a very esoteric, beautiful form of Islam. Instead, they took a new fundamentalist one, a reactionary interpretation of Islam, the one that comes from the heart of Saudi Arabia. It's called Wahhabi Salafi Islam, named after its founder. But at the same time, if you look at the South Asian context, in Pakistan, they used also the interpretation of their own version of a new fundamentalist movement called Deobandi, also named after the seminary that was teaching this line of Islam in the 18th and 19th century. So the result was this. I mean, these movements, I'm talking right now, specifically these new fundamentalist movements, they were modern, but fringe in the sense that were not really embraced by the majority of Muslim majority countries. Due to this political factor, the state mainstreamed them in the manner by which it gave a much bigger platform to their preachers, changing the curriculums, changing the way religion is being taught. And even if you look at Yemen, for instance, in the 70s, before the curriculums were changed, there was one class every week about ethics, inspired of Islamic religion. Respect your parents, love your neighbors, don't steal, be a nice person. And after the coalition that took place, specifically at the end of the 70s, and with the rise of the influence of Muslim Brotherhood, that's a political Islamist movement, you saw a change in the curriculum to 7 hours, unfortunately, of an interpretation that is literally is a fundamentalist interpretation of religion. And I remember when I came back from Morocco, I was 16 years old, went to high school in Sana'a. In the religious classes that I learned there, they were telling me that if I don't pray 5 times, I will be killed. I deserve to be killed. The way religion has been taught to us, it was not a message of love. It was a message of control, hatred, because it's not only me that I basically, the rules don't only apply to me, the rules also insist that I treat those who do not share the same interpretation, I'm not even saying the same religion, they should be treated by me differently due to their religious practices or religious identity. And that changed a lot. And you see that in the manner by which Indonesia, Malaysia today the discourses that you hear, the most visible feature of it, because when they start with women. And in Afghanistan, you've seen right now, you saw Taliban just came. What was the first thing they did? You have to wear, they have their dressing code. They are segregating men and women, erasing the faces of humans from the walls. This is Deobandi Islam. This is really a new fundamentalist Islam. And that fringe new fundamentalist interpretation became mainstream because of these of this political factor, because of these states.
And here in the West, and Elham, I just want to make a connection that you make in your book, Women and Sharia Law, which is that this interpretation of Islam, this Islamist interpretation of Islam, insofar as it takes Islamic law as a given and as synonymous with Sharia, and insofar as it regards all Muslims as being homogenous, and insofar as it regards Muslims as people for whom religion is the most important thing in their lives, these are the same beliefs that Western leftists have when the Western leftists are introducing things like Sharia courts in the UK.
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
Right? It's amazing. You made the point, not me. I'm just quoting you.
Isn't that interesting, really? It's that instead of taking the most, and that's here, again, how you reduce groups or individuals into their group identity and thinking you put them into boxes. And instead of addressing the fact that Islamic tradition is very diverse. Me living in different countries of Islamic tradition has enabled me to see that diversity. Yemen is not Morocco, Morocco is not Syria, Syria is not Egypt. And yet we insist on treating them, or like Iran, unfortunately with the Iranian regime after the Islamic Revolution, you had a different Iran than the one that I experienced during the Shah Iran time. So that diversity doesn't seem to be relevant in the discussion of the group.